This is Akim Hamlet, and this is the first client server tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be split into three parts. First part, we'll be installing SQL Server. In the second part, we'll be installing the SQL Management Studio. And thirdly, we'll be linking an OBDC Microsoft Access file to SQL in the third part. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is install SQL Server. Okay, it's already in my drive, so just click Setup. Yes. Now the thing about SQL Server that there's a long series of steps, as in checking your system requirements and whatnot, and making sure that it matches up to their system requirements, so that it runs at maximum efficiency. So let's wait for it to come up. And as you can see here, it goes through a list of kind of like a set list. As you can see, it have hardware and software requirements, security documentations, online release notes, setup documentation, etc., etc., etc. And these are the stages: planning, installation, maintenance, tools, resources, whatnot. Okay, so we have the hardware and software requirements, so now we're going to installation. Okay, series of choices. There's new installation, new failover, etc. But we are installing this for the first time, so we'll be selecting new installation. Okay, so what it's doing now is that it's going through a rule check. It identifies problems that might occur when you install the SQL Server. As you can see here, I passed all, failed none, there were no warnings, and I didn't skip any diagnostic tests. So now, let's click OK, go on to the next phase. Next part is to validate the install. So you have two choices. You can specify a free edition, or you can enter the product key. As I am a supporter of my products that I use, I purchased the SQL Server and therefore have a product key. If you don't have a product key, meaning you didn't buy it, you specify the free edition. But since I did buy it, you have the product key, and you click next. Here, terms and services. No one reads that. Okay, and now it's installing setup files. Wait. We have to click install to install the setup files. Click install, and now the files are installing. So I'll pause and let that handle. Okay, we're back. Operations completed. As you can see, passed 10, failed 0, warning 1 is the firewall warning, but this could be rectified at any point. Skip to 0. So we move on to the next one. Setup rule. Alright, this is for like any features that, the features that you want installed on SQL Server. And we want to install everything, so we will select SQL Server feature installation. Next. Okay, again, here we could select which features of SQL Server we want to select. Click select all to select everything, or you could unselect all and click which ones you want. Right, but we want to select all, so we select all. Directory default, shared feature directory default. Alright, next. Okay, installation rules. It's running a diagnostic. Passed it. Okay, this is the tricky part. Now, this is the name and ID instance for the SQL server. Right, the instance ID comes part of the installation part, meaning that it will create a folder named C program files MySQL server / instance ID. Okay, so let's go to the default instance for now. Next. Okay, this is the usual district requirement stuff. 6 gigs required, 155 gigs available. Click next. My computer is moving a little slower than usual, so you might have to excuse me. Okay, this is another very tricky part of installing SQL Server. You don't want to use the same account for each SQL Server service. Right? In normal organizations, you'll have a separate account for each SQL service. That way, if one part of the database somehow is breached from an outside force, they would not have access to everything, and the threat would be centralized to one account. But since this is just for demonstration purposes only, we will select the same account for each, the same account for each service. Sorry. So NT authority network. I don't think it really matters. Okay, network service. Drop down. So you just select the ones available in the drop down bar. Right. Click next. Or you could select use same account for all SQL Server services. Alright. Windows authentication mode. You could either use the authentication used to access the machine, or you could create a password to enter the SQL Server system. Right. And well, this is for demonstration purposes only, so we'll just add the current user as administrator. Okay. So add current user. Okay. Next. Alright, this is to specify which users have administrative permissions for the analysis services. Alright, and since the only one we have is the current user, we'll just select add current user again. Or you could specify another administrator, have them separate, but for demonstration purposes only. So next. Okay, we'll install the native mode. Next. Error reporting. This is basically choose whether you want to send the error reports to the Microsoft corporate server. You could choose whether or not to do it. It doesn't really matter. They don't really check up on those things. Okay, as you can see here, I think I failed two diagnostic tests here. They don't look okay. And the thing about it is that if you fail one that is two, that happens to be beneficial to the installation of SQL Server, you'll have to check out and see what's wrong. So 1 minute. I'll pause the video and see what's wrong and come Alright, okay, I repaired it, so now we'll click next. Okay, so you can make the choice of whether or not to send Windows and SQL Server a report to the corporate server at Microsoft.com. Alright, it doesn't really make a difference, so let's click next. And I run a second diagnostic test. As you can see, passed all, failed 0, warning 0, escape 2 because they're not applicable. Click next. Now ready to install. You set the file path and we click install. Installation usually takes like to about a half an hour to install, so I'll just pause the video here and resume when it's finished. As you can see here, the SQL Server 2008 has installed correctly, and now we close. So in the next video, we'll install SQL Server Management Studio and a final video linking the OBDC database in access to the MySql server.